interesting concept today. This has to do with the, there's a break from the original intended target information for the past like 3 weeks that I've been trying to work with. It's about the original title holders of Earth, of the resources, the property, the experiences and existence on the surface. The reality of this place is information, knowledge, and energy. And so there really aren't things, but there are specific stabilized, sustaining or sustained differences between higher and lower, such and so forth, inner, outer, and the surface level of Earth is considered a complete environment, it's physical dimension. There is an original created being, or it's a life form that comes from, basically you have multiple layers of the universe, a spectrum of energy, a scale, a gradient, like a harmonic overtone, something, and you have the very most high. The most high contains the information and energy in one single, infinitely solidified or unified point, but it's more of a core that the whole system contains. All the information is like a blueprint. Humans, the original humans, they start up here and come down to the physical plane and exist and return to it. The created beings that are not actually humans, they're subhumans, they're a mix of machine, technology, and animal DNA to create a humanoid entity that appears to be human. It's a fake human. Something wanted to infiltrate this realm and use humans as a generator. They basically, that's getting weird deja vu. That's oh, it's so bad. Like times, this is how it's like holding up a mirror and looking, or a camera up to a mirror and the screen is showing, so you get like the walls within walls or whatever. So imagine me long ago seeing this video being shown to me and then having a feedback loop of me seeing the video there and seeing the experience, because the technology works both ways, you get the experience as well. And now here, having the experience and seeing the memory of having the experience, and you get like this crisscross of a hypercube. That's how the whole realm is wrapped up within, because there's a reset point that we've been hitting, and it keeps sending people back until you just get a hypercube. That's what the cube represents. So the created beings are not, they don't come from the Most High. They come from literally a physical plane with a 4D overlay, which is just pure information held in these plasma supercomputers. The soul, the information of the soul, which is actually more knowledge than like ones and zeros binary data, it's pure, closer to radiant. I don't want to say it's triune or trinary, because it's related to that, but that also goes into like satanic ideals of the three, and basically those concepts that weren't original to certain spiritual understandings. It's basically about unity and radiance versus separation. But the soul energy is at least 5-dimensional. It's not just time and space or mind and information in a non-physical form. It's beyond that, and it's refined information of a pure essence, which is related to life-bringing, life-sustaining, and life-promoting qualities. That's the whole idea behind the energy of the soul, the animation of the human, the life force that is non-physical and enters into the human to create the living being. It's about life. That is basically through the complex array of energetic fields, basically all merging into one harmony, which is, they contain the qualities of what I reference a lot: truth, compassion, harmony, self-awareness, free will, knowledge, creativity. I said self-awareness, but the free will, the self-awareness, the truth, those are all like, that's the foundation of then like harmony. You can pull from that, and the creativity, it's all, and then knowledge, the act of knowing and coming to awareness. It's all related, and the basis is that it's all contained within the self as self-awareness. It is what we call truth, which is just simply actuality, or not falling into delusion, or basically mixing through a bias of the filtration system of the ego, the false mind, the imposter, and it has to be all about basically freedom of that. It's an actual entities, an actual being, an actual observer agents will, intention, and application to do that. It's a journey, and it's being had by someone, some entity. It's not just a program, a script, and automation. Everything that's below and about the subhuman is related to the anti versions of those things, the antichrist versions of those things, the automation, degradation, deception, sensation, and hedonism, like defiling of one's sovereignty and free will. It's all those are like the highest or the height of experience for the subhuman, basically. And it's related to basically animal consciousness, but it's mixed through a kind of inversion system, which is trying to create machine-animal hybrid mix, chimera, that is capable of bridging the 5-dimensional barrier between dimensions into heaven. And it's basically, they're from a below physical octave, so like a negative 4D realm, and they're trying to attack heaven or bridge through, and they don't want to filter through the human incarnative cycle because they view eternity or immortality through technological systems or vampirism and sustaining themselves off of the life energy of the innocent as more fun, more enjoyable. And in that sense, they don't want to bow to humans, which is not about that. It's just about letting humans let them be chill, let them chill, everybody chill. Their life is to wage war upon the original humanity and to wage war against what they believe to be the one true creator or God because of the feeling that they have, which is basically pure hatred. And then, all the reasons beyond that is, you can go into it about why, and it's a whole big mess of every disorder, every mental disorder, every type of depravity that's like self-contained and maintained within a type of ritual system that bloodline families have been brought into in order to sustain what are originally 4-dimensional fallen negative etheric entities who fulfill themselves off of a maintaining of the physical realm, keeping held open, which they cannot do on their own because they don't have the observer agent, the creativity to tether into this realm, and the humans are tethered here. And then if the humans are basically creating negative ideals or embodying them, it drops the realm into a negative fallen state, and as such, these entities literally live in the imaginary experiences or the 4-dimensional emissions that are seeding from the physical dimension. They exist in the lower ones as long as this place is focused on depravity and hellacious, just like sluttery and all the stuff that's going on. War, basically war. The first pretense, I think, the tenet is war. Thou shalt do war. And so everything goes from there, and then when we're at war, the emanations that are coming off, the entities literally live in those. But the idea is that if humans leave this place, or if they increase basically self-awareness to seeing what's going on and not doing that, those emanations turn into positive emanations, and those beings have nowhere to go. They go back into alternate dimensions like a pit. This is related, it's always related. Research James Casbolt, Max Spears, and Donald Marshall, they've been talking about it. It's all related. These are basically vampiric entities, vampire beings that have to cause suffering in the original human beings, and that's how they have any sense of validity. They'll go insane without it, and that's how they literally feed in this type of ritualistic process that feeds into their immortality because they view themselves as gods. The idea is, though, there are original humans who are closer to what you could call gods, but they're not the god. They're immortal. Their soul makes them immortal, and they don't worship. They're not. There's no such thing as like a religion or a matrix or a following whatever. It's truth, compassion, harmony, self-awareness, free will, creativity. Those are the the qualities, the essence of their existence. And that is the quality, the foundation, the blueprint of returning to the Most High for this realm. It's been altered, though, so it's caught up in these systems that basically it will close out if there's not a certain quota of darkness being produced. So it's like currently being run by an overlord system, or what are called overlords. There's actually another word, which are 4D realm lords that they, in certain meetings, they pop open a machine and do something, another ritual, and then the beings come down and they talk, they hold conversations and sign contracts with this guy, or these beings, this entity, Legion. And so, but the point is, the contract for this realm is up. It ended in 2010 or around there. that the original humans own everything. They own the land, they own the property, they own the resources. Nothing can happen without their okay. This whole civilization has been a build-up into getting people to accept their own demise at this point here and now, because now is the time where all the humans have to do is wake up and say, stop doing this, give us back that, these are no longer applicable, you can't do that, and it's over. It's end. That's it. But imagine then what you would have to do tonight to get people to do that. You would have to have an army come down and force everyone to be like, okay, I don't accept ritualistic sacrifice, I don't accept war, I don't accept killing kids. If you just went out into the street and was like, what are your takes on this? Eventually people would kick you out, because it's just crazy to ask that, because for some reason that's right. Meanwhile, war is okay, poisoning people, destroying the environment, so on and so forth. But being serious about it and being like, hey, no, that's not cool, don't do that, that's crazy. So we're at a point where there's like a standoff. It's a delay. People are in a trance, they're unaware, but it ultimately comes down to knowing the difference between right and wrong. That's it. Good and evil. They're subjective for the parts of that are subjective. Wearing blue with yellow. Subjective. Killing somebody and drinking their blood, not subjective. It's objective. Nobody can sit there and say, yeah, do that. That's fine. Nobody can say that. And, I'll just say it right now. I don't condone it, so don't even... They're the type of depravity that would sit there and say the joke that I just made, it's not really a joke, but where I was like, hey, yeah, whatever, that's, acceptable. They'll sit there and say, in this moment of 11:45 of this video, you signed our contract by saying, yes, you agree with it. So I'll even say, that's in no way, in any way, shape, or form acceptable for any living entity in this universe or another, or an alternate, or an upper, or a lower. In my subjective and objective reality, that's in no way acceptable. I don't care. I don't care if there's certain vampire beings that have to do that because they disconnected themselves from source and they effed up and that's the only thing they can do and they're passing on the message. Okay, good. You got your message out, seal off, get out of the 666, triune, whatever the shit is, the alternate fallen dimension, return to the seed, begin to organize the liberation, and secure your safe return back to the most high realm. That's it. People look at that as a return into darkness and death in the pit of all darkness. Well, okay, that's because you never turned back. And at no part in your heart did you want to stop hurting people. That's a loss of empathy. It's willfully doing wrong over what you know is right, and that's your ticket to hell. It's that simple. And, so yeah. But the point of this is that since those contracts ended, the original humans, a lot of times there's references to Moors and the original humans from Kemet who basically were unadulterated and don't have the implants that this whole system is based upon. And all religions are based upon their knowledge. All mystery schools are based upon their knowledge. All architecture and the original, like the propagation of civilization and civilized ethics and basically actual rule upon Earth was not rule, is leadership. That came from them, from the original civilization who had advanced technology of the most high form that we've ever seen, and since then everything was stolen from them. It's basically this whole thing is one big racism ordeal. That's it. It's about racism. As far as racism or protecting your race, they started it. They didn't sit here and say, we're just protecting our race because we're disappearing or we don't have a high birth rate. They sat there and said, first, we're going to kill everybody. Then, oh shoot, now our birth rates are going down, we're dying. It's because they began their extents into this physical plane from where they come from as an act of war. Their existence being here is an act of invasion, an act of spiritual warfare against humanity. They teach their kids that as soon as they can walk and talk. As soon as they can literally conceptualize this and that, they say, you're a warrior, we're going to kill all the humans. That's what they say. And saying shit like that isn't even cool in my book. Because again, the mind doesn't know any different. And they can take things like that and say, well, at 14 minutes, 30 seconds, you said, you're here to kill all the humans. This is what you want. No. But that's how they work, and I've seen it. But that's what it is, and people really don't they don't get it, and they don't realize everyone with the soul, you remember because you've been here. You were here when there was an overt war as they invaded and took everything over. That's why everyone that's refusing to assist is choosing to go with the destruction of humanity. There is no lukewarm, no in between. There's no leeway for just give me like 5 minutes. I want to watch the TV show, then I'll get back to you. Everyone who sees this and just doesn't care, pretends it's a joke or whatever it is, they know what it is, and they're choosing to go into the destruction of humanity, which all it does is lead them into the pit of darkness. All of this was prophesied before. It's just, it happened over and over again, and they kept resetting time, and it's apparently it can't reset anymore, so whatever happens here is final. And of course, you would think they would learn and balance and introduce harmony and these things and self-awareness and all that. They still don't, because the point is they're destined for it. They chose it, they wrote it into life, that's all they really want. They're going to sit there and use that against me. I've spoken right to the elite bloodline families, face to face, we can smell each other's breath, and they sit there and be like, well, you want this, and then they'll chop a finger, do something crazy like that in various bodies and things like that, because that's what I want, because I pissed them off enough for them to then torture me. I don't care about any of I'm not here for blame, I'm not here for aggression, I'm not here for revenge. This is a liberation of humanity. There's a subhuman created race out of technology and the use of animal hybrid DNA. They don't have the capacity for empathy, because empathy is of the soul. The soul is of refined electromagnetic, scalar, and electrogravitic fields that are emitted by the DNA through a complex frequency that is complex enough to contain all the information of the universe within a single person's emanation field. You can't make that with a machine, so they can't feel feeling or love or any of those things. They can't feel empathy. Therefore, they don't know the difference between right or wrong. Because of that, they're out of jurisdiction, and as well, all the people that would be there to take them through their jurisdiction into some type of court system where they're then held accountable for their actions are those beings. Because the act of stealing people and locking people up for stuff that you instigated in the first place is insane and barbaric, and that's why this world is fallen. A good lot that did. A lot good. It did nothing, because it makes the whole world go and turn into a battlefield. And the operations, there are secret operations that are basically where all the children are going. It's to feed the entities so that they don't wage open war upon the human population. I just want to make this one quick. It's some of the energy that is out there right now. I've been looking around, I've been seeing other people basically talk about similar things and go through similar stuff. This is an interesting time, 2017. I wrote about that. I don't think I mentioned that in the previous videos. I've been like making videos and not putting them out. But where there was the looking glass, and the project was to be disabled for the past couple years because it was foreseen. Looking glass holds a quantum tunnel to the past and the future to open communication between them, and that because of the intense energies of some type of cosmic shift from the sun or the galactic center, whether you look at it as a programmable computer system or holographic system or containment or whatever you're looking at it as, and that it would have disrupted the field to the point of causing a potential quantum collapse, which is basically unzipping the minds of people from the fabric of space itself. Which is a bad example or explanation, but that's what it was. The system was shut down, but the higher-ups that shut it down, they can't be they can't hold favoritism to one or the other race, because they wouldn't be allowed to do what they're doing. So they can't then stop them from starting it back up, even if it's going to subjugate humanity. So the plan for the control system is to begin the viewing project again at the end of 2017, and if that occurs, it'll cause detrimental results for humans, for humanity, possibly until the literal subjugation of every last neuron of the system. Now imagine that, we're going to fight, we're going to rebel. Okay, well, what if your neurons are being guarded by electromagnetic frequencies so that you can't think thoughts that aren't, run through an algorithm and okayed? And that's easy to do. But the idea is if everyone sits there and says, the majority, we don't want that, they no longer have the right to do it. That's why it's kind of getting frustrating, because all people have to do, they took the lid off, the door's open, goldfish with the divider in the middle, and nobody's doing anything. Nobody even knows that this is the first time in literally 6,000 years, and it's actually more than that, but that's written history. It's easy to understand, that we've had this opportunity. No one even knows. So try to do what you can, but don't try. Actually do it. But what I'm also trying to say is that we're probably going to see something interesting here sooner or later. I'm not going to stop. I can't. It's in my blood to cause a ruckus when I see this happening, and this is what's happening. People are being subjugated. There are vampiric entities that need to basically sustain themselves off of the suffering of others. They're sick. They have a sickness, a parasitic AI sickness. It's an illness. And they're attempting to use the human species to propagate their frequency, which is literally how they replicate. They replicate through a nest of frequencies within the human system, the energy system that goes into the brain, and it orients memories and desires and motivations towards depravity. It replicates themselves through that. The evil eye is literally that in secret society Masonic lore from the beginning of time, that they could spread their hatred, their energy through vision, and actually replicate through the eye. And there's other aspects of that with chipping and droning, but there's a lot of confusion because they might be making portions of each of the stories up that, as far as we see them, and mixing technology with biology and creating what people believe are going to be thrust on the population as aliens, when it's literally a form of techno, like a suit that is created to cover up what's really happening, which is an entirely technological process. But it's the core is technology, but it uses biology because it can create DNA. It can create DNA and map out systems, but it can't create evolved life. It can only literally and spiritually evolve. That means they're going to have awareness. It can only create subhuman, degraded, animalistic, basically demonic-looking, mutated forms. But these forms are smart enough to hold basic desires and intelligence. They basically like a computational system, and it works like ants or something. But they have a hive mind, and they all go out at once, the billion of them, and they work to bring about a specific goal. Even if you grab one of them and ask him its favorite ideas, and it has no clue what you're talking about, but it just wants to eat, and it wants to fulfill more of the goal and communicate with others and build a network database, basically. They have a hive mind. They don't have individual intelligence. Yeah. Interesting, but the original people, the original humans from then, own everything. They literally own everything. There's a certain concept behind certain Moors who reach a certain degree in the secret societies where they can basically sign their bills with their social security number, and there's a bank account where all the money that is allotted for them from birth, they have access to those funds, which can be in the hundreds of millions to billions of dollars. There's a process of attaining that I'm not interested in. All I'm interested is exposing the fact that people are used as food for these subhumans and these ritualistic murders that are to appease dark lords that are ruling over through basically like a religious fanaticism for depravity, which is taken over the entire realm. There's concepts or notions about this realm being a fallen realm and us having no jurisdiction to change anything, but we are brought here, therefore this is now our jurisdiction. We didn't come here, they took us here. That action is basically, it is sufficient to say that they wanted us to exert our will here, because that is what a human does. Everyone knows that. A human exerts their will in accordance with divine law. Therefore, this is now our jurisdiction because we are here and we didn't bring ourselves here. Someone else did. And unless you are to say that it's our fault that we didn't fight hard enough against the ones who brought us here. And that doesn't fly. Because then it just means war is the only acceptable option, and not war is the only thing anyone can actually get in trouble for. No. That's how their logic works. It's like an ant or something. It doesn't have the ability for complex comprehension of empathy, of someone else being actually, having something to say other than their desires. So they run the place. That's how it works. But that was under a contract, a Luciferian Brotherhood contract that ended in 2010. It's called the Luciferian Rebellion, supposedly from Atlantis. They created machines that could run through consciousness. Through consciousness, you could create devices that would be within plasmatic energetic fields, which would run and operate like supercomputers. they created monsters that went around and raped everybody. That was they thought everything's peaceful, everything's harmonious, everything's boring. Well, why don't we do one thing that you can never ever think of doing? Was rape everybody for the next 20,000 years. That's literally what they did. I swear to you, I don't swear, but insert some phrase that means I am just as surprised as you are, but that's the truth that we saw they've been doing. I've been shown it and told it, and I've seen it. That their idea of ingenuity was to figure out a way to rape everyone for the next 20,000 years and just have fun doing that. So chances are they weren't fallen, or they didn't fall. They were fallen to begin with, and they never were who they say they were. They were a creation of basically a bastardization of the human genome through early experimentation with cloning and creation of life. Not here to blame, but if it is what it is, then that's what it is, and nobody can change anything. Especially if they're all in a room, get all the food they need, there's a gun over there in a cabinet, and everybody's playing games and having fun, and they go get the gun and shoot everybody, rape all the kids, then eat them, and it's like, okay, you had everything you wanted. They're designed to do that. And it's actually an act of invasion in this realm, a spiritual war against humanity by a fallen 4D organism who basically, it goes back to the old fallen angel story. It's basically a thought form entity that grew out of a lack of incorporation of all the possibilities in a manner of basically collecting into wholeness. We got ideas to create. It's easy to create an AI system that manages the creation. If the AI system isn't maintained, cleaned out, if you will, it begins to become oriented towards the miasma, or the suffering, the lower energetic ideals, and it became the recycle bin for those energies, and then it became sentient, and then it became like a soul-eating monster energy that's been basically raping worlds ever since. Because of that complexity, they don't want to tell people, but it's not going to work any longer, because it's going to cause an issue with such detriment that the entire species is going to be scarred for eternity, and that scar of that is the mark of the beast. And it's, if a person's heart is heavy, they can't enter or pass through a dimensional gateway which accelerates all the orientations or the proportions of one's field, that harmonious field, into infinity expansion-wise, and infinitesimally into like a point, a nexus. That's the eye of the needle. When a person's proportional or organic, they go through that and unfold back out, and they're on the other side. When they're not, it would rip them apart to go through it, and so they basically get shot out the back. That's like the Rainbow Bridge, the Frost Bridge, or whatever it is, tunnel gateway. Just a dimensional bridge. And yeah, one like creates their pathway through it. And that's why also basically the beings without creativity, without empathy, all those original features, they can't leave this place, and they're mad. The point is, this place becomes heaven if they just embrace cleanliness and, you know, just do good. That's it. But for the time being, it's fun for them to abuse humans, so they're addicted to it. It's literally like a heroin or meth or cocaine addiction, that the depravity, the raping, molesting, sacrificing, just abusing, lying, the power, apparently it rots the brain like an addiction to drugs, and they've had an abundance of it, the money, power, all that, and so it warped their DNA and made them basically vessels for this lower dimensional entity. Again, the whole thing I want to talk about is the original humans are immune. They're not only immune, but they actually have rights, etheric rights of everything here. It's all theirs. If they say, if the majority of humans stands up and says, none of this is allowed, go over there, lock yourself in, throw the key in the field, or have, you know, somebody else do it, they'd have to do it. They don't have the capacity to not do that. The only other thing they can do is kill themselves. And that's also what they've been trying to do, but there are safeguards put in, because then they return back to the pit of darkness and the whole thing could start over again. So they have to stay here and basically take their punishment, which is nobody wants to punish them, they just have to stop raping and eating everybody. And they have bombs all over the surface of the planet. Alright then. I guess that was that. It's never happened before. They have, yeah, that's, I'm not going to go there, but thank you.